Hi, everybody. So good to see all of you here today. I always look forward for every Thursday, people, travel, and culture, where we talk about different parts of Europe. And this week, we're going to bring you a very special place. We're going to bring you Porto, Portugal. Why is this city so special? Again, it's one thing I love about Europe is the diversity. Last week, we talked about very unique island, Mykonos Island in Greece. And this week, we are talking about Porto, a city by the river. It's one of the oldest city in the European continent. And one thing I love about this city is also their port wine. And later, we're going to find out from our guide what's the history of port wine and why is port wine so special. Without any further delay, are you ready? Let's go to Porto, Portugal. Hi, Carolina. How are you?
Hi, Joshua. I'm fine. And you? How are you?
Doing good. Long time no see.
True. It has been 2 very hard years, I suppose, for everybody, right?
Oh, yes. The day when we meet each other in Porto, it was like yesterday. I remember we have a great time, a memorable tour in Porto. And you know what? That was, I think, one of my first few trips to Porto, and I really have a good time. And since then, I told my travelers in Malaysia, I say, whenever you visit Portugal, the most important place that you must visit is Porto. I really enjoy myself, have a good time. And
I'm so happy for that.
Oh, yes.
That's
really
nice. That's nice to hear. That's really nice to hear.
Portugal, you know what? And the other thing is I have a complete, what you call that? I have a complete different perspective after I visit Portugal. Portuguese are very friendly people. They're one of the friendliest people that I've seen,
We try our
especially,
best.
Sorry?
We try our best to be nice.
Oh, yes, that's true. And by the way, how's the situation in Portugal when it comes to this COVID?
Well, right now it's much calmer, meaning we are what we call in stage of calamity, which is stage number 3 out of 5, which is not, This doesn't mean it's the best, but this isn't worst. So yes, it's been hard, as I told you. So we had 2 lockdowns, and now we are slowly in the process of reopening and removing all the restrictions. This whole process has been divided in 4 parts. Right now we are at the end, the 4th phase, which is really good. Step by step, meaning we had the lockdown this year between January to April, and then slowly we reopen the schools, not every school at the same time. So every 15 days, our government evaluate the situation and know about the control of the spreading of disease, if it's necessary to include once again restrictions or open a little bit more. So since the 2nd phase, the museums, the palaces, art galleries and similar are reopened. So since the 19th of April, so cinemas, theaters are open as well already, which is really nice. The beach season started already as well, so in the south. So we have already guests coming from North Europe, like from United Kingdom.
Really?
Yes.
You're telling me that travelers are now already visiting Portugal, the southern part of Portugal?
Yes, because now in the southern part of Europe, we already have the sun. And the moment the North European countries heard that, the southern European countries, Portugal included, we were opening our doors, and we open, with the process of reopening the country once again. Everybody know that the reservation for flights to Portugal just went really up.
Okay,
so
just curious. Just curious. How about the vaccination? How is the vaccination going on?
The vaccination is going well, meaning we're still halfway. The main goal for our government right now is until summertime, till the end of summertime, to have at least 70 of population completely fully vaccinated. Meaning, when I say fully vaccinated, I mean because some vaccines is only one time,
one
some
dose.
have to be two doses. So until the end of summertime, at least 70% of the population, because it's important,
Yeah.
they're really working fast and hard to be efficient in order for the entire country to be taken care of and vaccinated quickly.
That's true. So good to hear that. At least, I can hear the vibe of the travelers are coming. Things are back to normal very soon. I'm so glad to hear that,
Yes, but meaning, Portugal, 40% of our income is tourism.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so remember when you visited us in Porto, we talk about it, between 2010 and 2019, there was a boom in tourism in our country. Everybody was talking about us, we are winning prices, right?
Yes.
And from 7%, it doubled, 14%. Yes. So it's very important for our economy. So our government organized a lot of different things, to welcome people, for people to feel safe when they visit us, So they created this certificate, for instance, they call it the clean and safe, for accommodation establishment, for tourism, all sort of services, tour guides as well. So we do a short course and we learn about all the hygiene and sanitization and all the procedures we have to make in case we have someone, passenger with COVID, or if it gets COVID somehow. And so people, if they see us with this seal, going to feel safe, they feel well, we are in good hands. Come to Portugal, we are prepared for you.
Oh, that's so good. I like that. In fact, you know what, I have seen when we travel, we've seen how a lot of countries do their tourism, and one thing I felt very strongly is when I'm in Portugal, that Portugal has got this, give me that feeling that when Portuguese, they want to do something, they give their passion, they do with 110%.
True.
If they don't
500.
that's the feeling I have. If they want to do, they'll be the best. In fact, I'm impressed. If you read the history of Portugal, they are not a very big country, but if the Spain can travel to other parts of Europe, other parts of the world, the Portugal can do as well. That's how they travel to Southeast Asia.
Meaning we claim the oldest borders of Europe, meaning we are the country, are this little rectangle since the 13th century, since 1249. So meaning we had our quarrels with Spain, our neighbors, but the borders stayed the same.
Yes.
So we are focused.
Yes, that's true. Focus.
Our goals.
Yeah, focus and very goal-oriented. That is definitely Portugal. And by the way, maybe you can give us a lot of our travelers in Malaysia, they have heard of Portugal, they have heard of Lisbon, but they have not heard of Porto. In fact, a lot of them were asking me, is it worth visiting Porto? What's so interesting about Porto? Maybe you can share with us a little bit about Porto, about some facts of Porto, and of course, later you can share with us some of the interesting places to visit in Porto.
Well, about Porto, we have Porto. It's a nation city, just like the rest of our country. We are a mixture of all the peoples who were here. They also they influenced the people who were here. They influence our features. We don't look all the same, right? I think you remember that when you visited us.
Oh yes. Diversity.
True. We have brunettes, we have blondes, we have tall, short people, because all the people were here, right? Our language, it's a mixture of all of that as well.
Oh yeah.
Our cuisine, everything, in our culture in general was influenced by these people. Talking about Phoenicians, the Celts, the Romans, the Visigoths, the Moors. Moors were the Arabs coming from North Africa. So when you enter in Porto, one of the first impacts you have when you see the city is that it's quite dark and it's very medieval, with the dark granite, really narrow buildings, because, well, it was conquered, right, and definitely has a Christian city in the 9th century. So since then, it developed, and all the streets and everything in a different way than in the south.
What's the population like? Porto
population? Porto, it's a very small town. But usually when we say in Portugal, we have one big city, which is truly the capital, Lisbon. And then the second biggest city, which is Porto, it's 230,000 people. Oh. Small.
How about Portugal?
But if you count
as a whole,
total of Portugal, it's roughly 10 million people. 10 million people. It's not a big country. This is one of these places. It's perfect for you to visit walking. Okay, it's really nice.
Yes.
Okay, because everything is very close by, it's very concentrated on the same place. Although it's steep, it's steep. We have the cathedral, and we'll have all these quarters coming down the street to the river, and all that area. It's a World Heritage Site since 1996. It's like an open air museum, you know. It's we have a great range of buildings from the 8th century, so until it was from when it was conquered until the 20th century, in really good state of conservation. So it's different examples of different periods of our history, and beautiful.
That's true. In fact, you know what? One of the inspiration I got when I decided to visit Porto is after I read some articles, and I found that this article where a very famous author, J.K. Rowling, who wrote the book Harry Potter, he actually stayed in Porto for a few months, and he got an idea.
Years. She lived here. She lived here. 2 or 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, and she was an English teacher. Well, this is more like an urban legend. It's what everybody knows. We don't have a confirmation from her, but we don't have any denial, so we believe so. No, if you don't say anything, you agree with it. Yes. It's how we work. Yeah.
That's true.
So she lived here. She lived in Porto for a period. She was an English teacher. She was actually married with a local journalist. The marriage didn't went well. And so at a certain point, she was in trouble, with the economical situation really hard. So she returned to England. Meanwhile, whilst she was in Porto, she used to go to a bookstore we have in the city, very old and beautiful bookstore called Lelo and Irmão. And she used to go there to read the books, to buy. It's a bookstore, of course. And there was a little coffee shop on the first floor. Now doesn't exist, but back then there was. And legend goes that she used to go there. She used to attend, and she used different places of the city of Porto to inspire her to create different sceneries for her first book. And she inspired in this beautiful twisted staircase that we have inside, wood carved, which is beautiful. It's something amazing, to create the moving staircase of Hogwarts, the school which Harry Potter attended.
You know what? I always tell my travelers, whenever I run out of idea, I will move and stay a few years in Porto, and probably I'll be a writer and came up with another popular book. But
this is an excellent idea. This is a perfect place to get inspired. That's true.
I've looked through the photos of Porto, and a lot of them are just so postcard, just so beautiful, And I picked up 2 photos, and maybe you can share with us these 2 beautiful postcard photos, and where do we take them, and how do we take such a beautiful angle, especially the river, the bridge is so beautiful.
Well, one of the places to take these postcard pictures is definitely by the river. Okay, you have 2 options depending on what you want to have in your postcard. Okay, because I don't know if you know this, but we are also, of course but perhaps the travelers, they don't know that one of the things we are famous for is the Port Wine, right? So yes. On the right bank we have the city, so the beautiful city, and across the other side we have the wine cellars where we storage, we bottle, and we age the port wine, because it's not made in Porto, it's made up in the valleys, so it's in a different area. But if you cross the river to the other side where we have the wine cellars, from there, so you have to take the bridge you mentioned, Louis Bridge, which is double deck. It's a beautiful bridge made of iron from the end of the 19th century, so 1886. It's not the oldest we have, okay? We have 6 bridges, and we are already building a 7th, imagine. Wow. Yes, we are very fond of bridges. We need them, to connect different levels. This is 2 towns with different levels. Geographically speaking, meaning physically speaking, it's different altitudes. So we need different bridges to take you to different parts of the city. So if you cross the bridge from Porto side to Gaia, then you take a picture of Ribeira Quarter, which is this postcard picture. It's lovely. We can see all the medieval buildings with colors, the main square, which is beautiful, where you can have a glass of Porto wine, okay, or Porto tonic, why not, or an espresso, which we are very fond of, or a shot of caffeine early in the morning.
Oh, so nice.
And then one of the buildings that stand out the most when you look to that beautiful landscape, urban landscape, is the Clérigos Tower, which is one of the landmarks of the city as well. And this is one of the views. So if you cross to the other side, if you stay on Porto side, and if you take a picture, you can include, the bridge, which is beautiful, this iron bridge, and the wine cellars. That's also really nice. So these are one of the two places where you can choose to take pictures, either from the top or at the bottom using the bridge, because you can walk. Okay, you can walk the bridge, which is nice.
Wow, when I talk about traveling, when I hear you talk about traveling, it's so exciting. Life is so wonderful, so colorful. The
True.
last thing we want is stay at home and every day,
Oh,
it's the
yes,
same
yes,
mode
yes. We are
routine.
social animals. We need to travel. We need to meet new people, new cultures. It's part of us, I suppose.
Oh, that's so true. And you know what? And the other thing that I really enjoy and I really and I find it very nice is to visit the São Bento station. Is that right?
São Bento Station. Yes. Well, when you look to São Bento Station, it's a neoclassical building. It's a very simple building. But what is amazing is what's inside. Porto is one of the aspects of Porto I think is really interesting. Is when you look to Porto at the first sight, everything looks like quite dark because once again of granite, the rock we use. True. Then you have the blue and white tiles in all the buildings outside.
I like the blue and white.
Yes, they are beautiful. We love them as well. And what is interesting is that most of the buildings, they look austere from the outside. Inside, they hide beautiful treasures. So the railway station is one of those places. Okay, it's completely covered with tiles, blue and white, and on the top we have colored ones. And it's a work of the beginning of the 20th century of a Portuguese artist called Jorge Colasso. 20,000 tiles explaining about important historical moments of our history. And
the other thing is, the other very important place that we must visit is the place, the landmark. How do you pronounce Bolsa Palace? Is that right?
Oh, Palácio da Bolsa. Stock exchange.
The stock exchange. Yes, that's right. Correct.
Bolsa means purse. Purse. Purse where we have the coins to exchange money. Bolsa Palace.
And it's very beautiful.
It is. It's a building also neoclassical. So in the 19th century, many buildings, because kind of a renovation plan for the city. So new buildings were built to replace after the Civil War. It's a beautiful building. Once again, one of these buildings that outside looks very simple, yes, but inside it's beautiful. It's just beautiful from 1834. And it's not used as a stock exchange anymore, although it worked there until the beginning, until the 20th century. Now it's the headquarters for the Commerce Chamber, which is a private institution, extremely important, not only for Porto, but the north of the country. And the other thing, how about the cathedral and the tower? Is also very interesting as well. The cathedral, or sé, we call it usually sé is a shortness for seat, the headquarters of church. So sé or cathedral, the cathedral is located right on the top, close to São Bento Station, up high. It is fortress-like, so it's, all these buildings are interesting because they are from different ages, and since they are in a good state of conservation, they're really good examples of each period of time. So the cathedral, for instance, is 8th century to 12th century, so it's this Romanesque Gothic style. But when you go inside, you also have the gold carving wood from the 18th century, which is also amazing, blessed with the marble, because we are very rich in marble in our country. And during the 18th century, we decorated many churches with local marble. So Clérigos Tower is on a different hill. It's very close to where we have the Harry Potter book. Harry Potter. Oh. Okay. So the Lelo and Irmão book. And it's a beautiful building. It's 250 years of age, so it's from the 18th century. It's the tallest building we have, 75 meters. Till nowadays, it's the tallest building we have. And I feel like going to Porto now, get me an air ticket and flying. Come right away. I like and that. Have a coffee with me and have an espresso with me. Oh, how nice is it,
And talking about culture, and just now we talk about the landmark, now we talk about culture. And one thing, just now when you say the Portuguese are very focused, and then I notice they are also very business-minded. And one thing I'm very, very impressed is port wine. When the world are talking about red wine, white wine, and Porto came, in fact, Portugal came up with their own wine, and it's called port wine, I suppose.
Port wine, yes.
Yeah,
Vinho do
what's the
Porto.
history?
Vinho do Porto. Vinho do Porto. It's a licorice wine. Remember I told about the important events that happened in Porto. There was a marriage, and that marriage was between a Portuguese king and an English princess. I'm not going to get you the details. So you have to come and visit us to get that.
Sure.
but with this marriage, we still have very important alliance with England. And that later on opened the doors for the business of port wine. How?
Oh.
Well, yes, by the 17th century, England and France, they were having their quarrels. So at a certain point, the French wine, which the English loved very much, it was forbidden. So the importation of French wine. So they had to find a new place to get their red wine. And we had already some English, we had an English community living in Porto, these families already trading other items, wool, for instance. And, they saw the opportunity there and they started to export the wine. But one of the problems were the transportation of the wine, this long voyage from the harbor of Porto. That's why it's called port wine, okay? Because of the exportation was made from the city of Porto. Because the only thing was made from Porto was the exportation. Everything else, aging, bottling, production, and the making of the wine was either on the other side, which is another town, across the river, or up in the mountains where you have Doral Valley, also World Heritage Site. Also a beautiful place to visit if you want to learn more about the making of the port wine.
In fact, just to stop you, in fact, in our tour, we make it a point after we visit Porto is to go all the way to Doral Valley and to visit a beautiful cellar that make port wine. And we have a wine pairing meal there, and that is truly memorable, But today I'm so glad
I love to do
from you.
That's something that we Portuguese will love to do. Not only, travelers, international travelers. True. So it's to go to Doral Valley. It's beautiful. The landscape. It's breathtaking, and the estates, the quintas where they make the wine, are usually also the buildings itself, and the estates are beautiful, and the way they lined up all the terraces, the sucalcos with the vineyards is beautiful, and then the wine. That's the cherry on the top of the cake, right? To have the wine taste of what they produce, because they not only produce port wine, the licorice wine. They have also red wines, which are really good.
But what's the main difference between a port wine versus a normal red wine?
No, that's also the story I was telling you. When I was telling you the story that the problem was the transportation of the wine from Porto to England, because the wine could get spoiled. So what they did is back then. Now it's different. The process is different. But back then, what they did, they added some brandy into the barrels, so they stop fermentation and stabilize the wine. So by the time the wine got to England, it was already fortified, kind of a fortified wine. It's very sweet. And that wine, the English loved it. So now it's different. Instead of adding brandy, it's not brandy, it's wine spirit. And we add it at the beginning of the fermentation process. After the harvest in September, then 2-3 days after it's, they do the steaming, and they start the fermentation of the juice of the wine. They add the wine spirit, which cuts the fermentation, stops the fermentation. That's why it's so sweet, guys. The natural sugar of the grapes, which is fabulous, I must say. And we have hundreds of different types of grapes, and we it's only allowed to use the national grapes specific from this valley.
It's a must when you visit Porto, that is for sure. And besides wine, and one of the reasons I find very memorable the tour to Porto is actually the cuisine. I find that the food in Porto is so interesting, is so different, and I think one of the reasons is because of the diversity. Maybe you can share with us one or two of the special food or cuisine that Porto has.
Well, Portuguese in general, we are foodies, meaning we love to eat and well. Okay, we eat generally Mediterranean cuisine, okay, so very healthy. One of the things you can find in our coast, Lisbon, Porto, all around is excellent fresh fish and seafood. So it's something that you find it here. Then of course, we have also nice meat. In the south, for instance, we have the black pig, which is, some people sometimes think it's like the Iberian pig, which is Spanish, but it's different, okay? Because the Iberian pig is actually crossing from one they have there and one ours. So black pig is a specific breed from Portugal. And we have smoked ham or pork dishes definitely made with the pork, which are very healthy because these are fed with acorn, sweet acorn from home oaks. So it's low cholesterol and high of what we call good cholesterol. So it's not a really fatty meat. Pork meat is really, it's so tasty. It's excellent. It's something we produce here. So if you want to try that, I'm sure you're going to love it. And then you have pastries. I will love pastries. All these recipes, they are quite old. They come from convents. And the nuns, they use the white part of the egg for not ironing the clothes, storage, and they'll have the egg yolk left, added sugar and different ingredients like almond or nuts or whatever, and they'll have different little recipes. One of our favorite in the entire country is the pastel de nata. We love it. It's a custard, kind of a crème brûlée inside. It's so crispy. It's lovely. According to legend, it's the best pastel de nata recipe. It's in Lisbon. But in Porto, we have also really nice places. In Rua das Flores, for instance, when you can try the custard, which is beautiful pastel de nata. They're really nice people there. And then we have two dishes which Porto is famous for. Porto is a town of working people. We need food, strong food to help us to go out through the day. So we actually have two dishes. One very old. It's not for everybody. It's called tripes in the Porto fashion. Tripes, imagine. So the story goes that during the 15th, 16th century, during the sea discoveries, imagine all the boats were being built, and we have thousands of sailors and the navigators sailing away, and they needed food on the boats. So we gave away all the meat we had in the city, and we were left only with the tribes, and we have to be creative. So we did a kind of a bean stew with carrots and tomato and onions, some slices of sausages to disguise the tribes, and then we have this stew, which is really nice, by the way, but it's not for everybody. It's a heavy dish. Something that is really nice, something kind of more modern, which is the Francesinha. Francesinha, it's kind of a French toast, cheese and ham, but it's filled then with a steak, and it's kind of an upgrade of a toast, a smoked ham and cheese sandwich. Okay, so it's toast, and we have the steak, different kind of sausages, smoked ham sometimes. Then you have melted cheese on the top and a fried egg, all watered with this beautiful sauce made of tomato and beer, and it's really hot sauce accompanied with fried French fries. So it's a caloric bomb, but it's so good, so good.
And in
matches
Porto,
perfectly, pairs perfectly with a pint of beer.
Oh, the only thing is you have to earn it, yeah? After 3 rounds of walking around the city.
After going up and down all the streets, you have to eat something, it's strong. Makes you feel comfortable. This is a comfort food around here.
So nice. Talking about food, talking about life, talking about traveling is so wonderful, and we are so glad to have you, Carolina, and can't wait to see you again in Porto,
It is a pleasure to represent my country and my cities. Thank you for your invitation, Joshua. That was really nice. I really hope to see you soon.
Yes,
We are
see you
looking forward
soon.
to see you all here. visiting us. You're always invited. You're always welcome to our country. Always.
Thank you so much, Carolina.
Thank you.
See you again. Take care. Bye.
See you. See you. Bye bye.
What a great time that we have our guide Carolina, where we talk about this beautiful city by the name of Porto, Portugal. I hope you have a great time with us. What I like about her sharing is the concept of open air museum, which is so true. When you visit Porto, every street, every place we visit, you know, it's like visiting an open air museum. Lovely Porto town. And next week, we're going to bring you to another unique place. This place is so special because to me, I find it is so unique because I still remember first time I visited this place. There's this landmark in this city where the east meets the west. You know, where when you look in front of you, it looks like city of Vienna. When you look behind you, it looks like Turkey. To me, it's so unique. You know, this is the place where the west meet the east. And also this place is very unique because this is also one of the few cities in the world where a Jewish synagogue, a Christian church, and also a mosque live together close apart. And what I like about this city or this town is also of their culture. You know, they have got this saying, my neighbor business is my business. You know, it's very unique, very lovely city. And are you ready to find out which place is this? Oh, I think you have some idea, yeah? Next week, we're going to Mostar, Bosnia. See you next week, same time, same place. Thank you very much.